Oh. Oh. Well, yes, man. Are you like the Batman of saying yes? Like you hear your song and you just show up. You're like, oh my gosh, somebody or somewhere, somebody needs the word yes spoken to them. Is what? Wait, so you have a secret identity?
Yeah.
Like a real name in a real life?
Yeah.
When you're out of your superhero garb, before you wait for that bat signal and show up on Tuesday nights to say yes, meanwhile you say other words besides yes, right?
Yeah.
Wait, do you have a family?
Yes.
I think we knew that. I think he has a son.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The yes boy.
Does your son play baseball? Baseball?
Yes.
Basketball.
Yeah. Did your son make it into the World Series of Little League?
Yeah.
Oh wow, that's an achievement.
Yeah.
That takes a lot of work.
Is he? Did he do well? Are you proud of him?
Yes.
Oh.
Is his name Dickie Thon?
Anyway, never talk to me or my son again.
Nice one.
Meme improv. Go for the meme. Stay for the improv.
Oh,
All right, well, people vote on show titles. We had a few Photoshops come in, including this one about Gordon. He loves you guys.
okay.
Also, of course, Totally Real here on
Jam
BaseballReference.com.
slug, jumper joint.
Outfielder.
Oh my god. Oh, how great is it going to be to see Mikey out at Scoop Fest, man? That's going to be amazing.
That'd be fun.
I am so pumped. I mean, like, I'm pumped for. I mean, Dragon Con is Dragon Con. It's always such a blast, and this being the last one is for Night Attack is just going to be so special. But also, I've been listening to a lot more Ice Cream Social. I had such a great time at Scoop Fest, and it's actually such a rad thing because it is. If anybody came to CreateCon that went to like Big Diz.
Yeah.
It's like that, but it's in Vegas instead of being in downtown Orlando, which you can imagine that the fun associated with the difference in fun is the difference between downtown Orlando and Vegas.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man. I'm excited. Hey, does one of you want to text me who our guest is for Dragon Con?
No.
Oh.
No?
I will.
I mean, that's fine. That's a good bit. If I don't know who it is.
Michael B. Pena says, why is it Night Attack's last Dragon Con? Long story short, look, it's a tremendous expense. All things must pass. And we're not on the level that Dragon Con will ever make it less of an expense for us, nor are they really built for merch sales in a way that makes sense.
I mean, there is a way we can make money with it, and it involves the bulk of our time being spent in the vendor dungeon, and that doesn't have a lot of appeal to us.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Right.
Okay. I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Told you.
Pretty good.
Told you.
Told you.
Scooper Nova Girl wants to know if we'll have merch at Scoop Fest. We really should, because everyone wants to give us money.
I will say this. Scoop Fest is a lot. I mean, they're kind of the opposite in that they, I think, have their own little merch room where you just put your merch and then they tally everything up for you so the talent can go be talent and the merch can be merch.
Right.
Oh. Did not know that.
Yeah, that's the problem. Listen, like, Dragon Con kind of sucks because they have a massive, like, selling area. The only problem is it's in its own makeshift mall, like 3 blocks away
separate from everything else. Like if let's say we tried as hard as possible to make money at Dragon Con, we would go there and we would hang out, and that part is fine. The part that's not great is that all of you guys would have to hang out with us.
I
hanging
think
out
one
at the
year
booth.
one year we had a table, and
Nobody enjoyed being there. Nobody wanted to
Yeah.
hang around, and it was.
we need a merch person.
I had a table once where I was selling the sticker stuff, and it was just like every moment I was there was just like 5 or 6 people that were like hanging out. That I'm like, man, we should be out drinking and hanging out and high-fiving and doing Dragon Con shit. Like, why are you guys waiting with me while I'm at a table? But then I'm like, oh no, wait, I'm asking you guys to come to this table and hang out with me while I'm selling these things.
The worst part is when somebody walks up and just looks at you. They look up and down, and they're like, "So what's this?" And then all of a sudden, you just feel crushed and diminished. You feel like a fucking air-filled soda can at the bottom of the ocean, and and then you're like, "Well, I do a comedy. I made a game."
Yeah.
Classic
have an
bad seller,
album.
Brian Brushwood.
I mean, yeah, I'm just saying that's
Yeah,
not
no,
the
yeah.
most fun.
It's
Well, I mean,
it's frustrating.
The other thing is, like, we've done stuff where we've sold stuff after Night Attack, which really only made sense in the Crystal Ballroom, which we have not been allowed to be in the last 3 years, which is another frustrating part about it. That, like, when you have literally the perfect venue and the perfect time slot to do a show for free that you've flown many people across the country to do, and then you're not allowed to do it either in that room or at that time slot, where it does make sense to have a merch table in the back like we've done in the past and have people walk by on the way out. Although even then we got yelled at by the panels afterward because we're too fucking loud. Like, at least then we had that shot. As soon as that was off the table, it's like, okay, so we can't do it in the Marriott, or sorry, in the
Hilton,
Marriott.
the Hilton.
It's way too busy, and it's way too much of a thoroughfare for us to put any kind of blockage, and they line up stuff there. So it's like, there's just not a lot we can do. And
Well, plus also, we're reaching this level where in order for us to keep going to Dragon Con, we have to say no to a lot of other things. Like we get asked a lot to do other things, so we have to say no. And increasingly, it's like,
Speaking of, I have to ask you guys about one of those other things.
Oh,
after the stream.
oh, is the answer no?
Well, you will be the one answering the question.
Oh,
so
okay. I think he's a baseball player.
Okay.
and I think he's a politician.
But yeah, it's difficult and it's expensive, and
Yeah, look, I don't think this is the last time any of us will ever be at Dragon Con.
Right.
But I do think that for Night Attack right now, it's at a point where
we can focus on other stuff.
I mean, look, I'll tell you what. Something tells me we're gonna do pretty.
There will be more and different opportunities. to
Right, I was
see
about
us.
to say, like, you have to close a window to go to TwitchCon.
to open a door
when
would normally
God
be the metaphor
closes a
of
window, we get to go to TwitchCon.
which, by the way, TwitchCon
Hey, we have
happening
to-
at the end of October.
What day are we? Is our TwitchCon panel?
I don't know. I got
Saturday?
an email saying congratulations. Here's a badge.
Oh, good. I was gonna email you and ask you if you got that email.
Yeah, no, I did.
Is
But,
there a +1 on that +1?
No, you're not invited, Bryce. We keep telling you you're the least important member of this team. Wait, like, I don't know.
If I wanted to-
Wait, we even got the T-shirts and we showed
There are
up that
people-
day and we're like, Bryce, the least important person in night. I'm sorry, I can't even.
a lot of jokes we can't even finish recently, but we certainly can start them. Okay. That'll be TwitchCon will be cool.
We're wearing shirts that say, also, there were never any nickels. You owe us X dollars.
A long T-shirt.
Yeah, like there's a long cod. Like, also, they were all counterfeits. They were wooden nickels.
Oh, I should have bid him.
I should have bit him.
All right, let's take a look at some shit times
By
before.
the way, I want to put out a chat realm call So the fan made challenge is laid down. I want to wear a shirt that says in the coolest font possible, "Jam Slump Jumper Joint Lives." I want a shirt, make it in the cool font. I want to put it up on Teespring so I can buy it.
Yeah.
Hey, so
Go and do that. You've just been given consent to make that shirt.
Yeah, go make it.
okay, for now, I'm gonna allow it, but you do realize that we're in the middle of a bit of a logistical nightmare with scamstuff.com, in that we're moving from the fulfillment center that is located in Atlanta to one that is located in Austin. The one in Austin is more expensive. We have to jump through more hoops to get everything done. It's not necessarily better located for most of the shipping, but on top of all of that, they have extraordinary capabilities for print-on-demand stuff, and the prices are reasonable. And so today, I stopped by the warehouse, and Jacob was like, "Hey, how come I can't buy a BB logo shirt of any variety anywhere?" And I was like, "Oh, well, because we have to run a whole bunch of them if we do it with the old guy that we were doing." And he was just like, "But don't we have the ability to print on demand now?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Well, and can't you? Isn't it literally as easy as dragging and dropping a friggin' graphic in, and you get good T-shirts printed or whatever?"
I'm gonna say a very classy "I told you so." I've been talking about on-demand printing for a while now.
Well,
Wait, hold on, whoa, hold on, pause. Bryce, I thought that was classy. I need it classier. Can you just give me a classier "I told you so"?
Sure.
Just really class it up.
Well, my lord, I do believe you don't quite remember me giving that exact suggestion, nay, 12 months ago.
well, you are.
Hold on, Brian. I'm gonna let you go in 2 seconds.
Sure,
Bryce,
sure.
good. We're on the right path. Give me a little more "I told you so," and then class it up with some kind of like flourish at the end.
At the end,
And
okay.
you're live.
By Jove, I do believe I've discovered a new moon. It's called on-demand printing.
Well,
it's
sire.
me, Galileo. I'm Galileo, and I discovered a moon, and it's called on-demand printing.
My sire.
I'm naming it after myself. Galileo's moon, on-demand printing, the moon that Galileo discovered.
Yeah. My sire, now, if you might remember, maybe 12 moons ago, I discovered this moon, and I said, "Oh, look, Galileo, there's a moon!" And I do believe we can name it after both of ourselves. Name it Aristileo. And to wit I say, "A good moon to you, sir."
I don't remember it that way. I'm just gonna call it IO.
So you're saying that Night Attack might have the ability to do more on-demand.
Yeah.
printing?
So
I mean,
previously,
I've
and
certainly put designs up as on-demand things for Night Attack also.
specifically something like Teespring is like you could spend $25 on a shirt and the creator will get all of $3.25 or whatever. The margins are not great compared to our new provider. These are all exaggerations. None of these numbers.
Yeah,
are
I would say
correct.
that number is not close to accurate.
But it turns out that when you work with a provider full time and you give them all of your business, they give you a much better rate for on-demand printing. So we could get real creative real fast with all of our merch stuff and have healthier margins than we would have from a Teespring kind of thing.
I mean, okay.
Oh man, you going to bat for? Are you working for Big Teespring?
No, when I talked about this, it wasn't even Teespring. There are other providers that do this for cheaper too.
Yes.
But in any case,
Well,
shirts.
That's none of my business, and it's Bryce sipping a mug of Teespring.
In any case, let's take a look at some show titles before we forget, because we almost forgot.
highly interesting to a fault. Man yells at dog owner. God, not my greatest moment.
Sure, he quit the next day. Why are you so
Nope,
here?
nope,
Just
nope,
go
nope,
away.
nope, nope, nope. 1877 hams for Jay.
Nope.
1877 hams for Jay. I like the ludist colony. I do like the Ludist Colony and Mysterious Walker.
Serious.
I don't know. The lips match the drapes is maybe that's one of the funniest things that I've ever heard in my entire life. Do you think the lips match the drapes?
Oh my god.
Vote Christmas is pretty good. I like
Oh.
Tony B. Recasty was also very funny, but I think that might have been. Oh no, that was Kevin Kelly in the show.
Oh, right. I think if I'm looking at the ones we clicked on and the top ones, I like the lips match.
Yeah, I think the lips match the drapes.
The lips match the drapes
Yeah.
is that's just a funny thing to read.
All right. Well, thank you,
The lips
Scooper Nova
match
Girl,
the
and everyone who submits show titles using the Bang S command in the chat room. We appreciate it. I'm gonna go write an email. The subtext being that you should talk to each other.
Yeah,
No.
sorry.
Complaining.
Sorry.
How that? No, Bryce.
Yeah,
You're
no,
not.
we don't like talking to each other. What about this show made you think I'd want to talk to Justin Robert Young?
Yeah, man. Well, shit. What's in the news? Did you hear about this lady with the Tinder? The big Tinder thing? I think I read it. I think Bryce retweeted the initial tweet that got me reading
Yeah,
it.
no, I mean, they were really furry and going all directions, but somebody combed them, and then they were fine.
Oh, that's Cockballs Titcomb,
Oh, sorry.
famous picture. No, all right. This lady, we don't know exactly to what end yet, but all of a sudden, this is told from the first person perspective of a guy who gets a Tinder match, and this lady, she's cute, and she's like, "Hey, you want to meet for a drink?" He's like, "Cool."
By the way,
She's like,
thank you very much, Scooper Nova Girl. Have a good night.
Oh, cheers, Supernova Girl. So, the dude's like, the lady's like, oh, okay, hey, sorry, gotta cancel the drink. I'm working on a big project for work. It's gonna take me like 2 weeks, but can I hit you back then? And he's like, okay, the most elaborate ghost of all time.
Sure.
What else? 2 weeks later, sure enough, she hits him back and is like, hey, I'm done with my thing. I'm ready to meet you. You want to meet at this park? And he's like, cool. That's not, odd for Tinder. People oftentimes meet for the first time in public places just in case there's a total weird situation. So there we go. My friend is DJing near Union Square on 6 tomorrow. I was wondering if you wanted to go there for a bit and then we could go get drinks after and see what happens.
See
So-
what happens.
He gets there and then finds out that there is a big stage, like she said, for her friend who's DJing, and there's a bunch of people. But then this lady walks out on stage and says, hey, look, the entire crowd is there because we Tinder matched and I asked you all here.
To what end did she do this thing?
To see who will date her. And said, whoever wants to leave can leave, but otherwise I'm going to start narrowing you all down to see who I want to go out on a date with.
The economist in me says that's a very effective strategy.
You can't weaponize. You
I
can't
can't-
weaponize sex. Well,
My goodness. Tinder Hunger Games. She's like, everybody look under the stage. There's a bow and arrow. There's a bolo, a sling. There's 5 ninja stars. And
So first she starts doing the singled out, like, all right, all the Trump supporters have to leave, and all the guys under 5'10", you leave. All the people who smoke and drink, you have to leave. And then it narrowed it down to a certain amount of dudes who were still there because most of them pieced out as soon as it happened, right? And then there's like 10 or 12 dudes, and they start doing physical challenges.
this is
like
a sprinting
sprinting.
contest.
oh, this is. What's
gross.
funny is I was not on board until we got to the physical challenges. I'm kind of on board all of a sudden.
It's gross.
I mean, at this point, it's so clearly performance art. Like, this is genuine performance art at this point.
And then presumably, I don't know. I haven't really got to the end.
horny
I guess at some point
games.
somebody dates her. Now, the more you look at it, the harder you look at it, and then Gizmodo actually found the dude who got the permit for the park, and it's like a viral marketing firm. So it's like, it's for something, or even just like a pitch for a TV show or something like that, right?
Sure. This is like a Borat thing in the wild that they caught. Like, this is going to show up as a segment in something down the road, theoretically.
Theoretically, I mean, she doesn't have like a TV show now.
Like, yeah,
right?
they found her
Like,
on Instagram.
Yeah, she's just an Instagram model, you know?
Hey, man, you don't need to say just an Instagram model. I'm sure she's a real person.
She's also a lovely person with a beautiful soul who's a voracious reader and writes prose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know why everybody gets so mad about her, though. Like, everybody, like, it turns into, like, you know,
I mean,
what a
if this was if you knew for a fact that this was Sacha Baron Cohen dressed up as a lady and successfully pulled this off, everybody would be, you know, ejaculating, like, you stuck it to the NRA.
But what's the message? You're not, like...
like the NRA's final embarrassment.
like,
I mean,
this is the definition of punching down.
No. I
Wait,
don't
who's
know
she?
that
I
it
think
is.
Instagram lady.
She what?
She's an Instagram lady. Like, how is she punching down? Who is she? She has no status.
She's abusing her I don't know. She's abusing...
Now, here's where it does get interesting, because there is the, like, well, she's a beautiful woman, and this is the oppressive nature. This is the power that beautiful women
Yes,
have.
yeah, and that's a ship I'm not going to board. I'm not going to be on team saying that you know, all women who are attractive are you know, owe something to literally anybody.
Sure.
You know.
Well, and also,
lied to
here's the
people.
thing. Waffleovica says 2 married dudes talking about how they're okay with women manipulating guys. Everything that she said to that dude was true.
Also, not just 2 married dudes. One of them, father of 3 girls, who very much hopes that they will be the kind of girls who can fucking pull this shit. Like, I'm straight up, like, I would be proud of any 3 of my daughters for doing this kind of performance art.
And oh man.
Well, I mean,
like whatever. Like, she
I mean,
didn't lie.
okay,
she
okay,
didn't whatever. But she's deceiving people.
I, as a magician, deceive people
God.
all the time. Oh, geez, that disgust.
Okay.
Like,
No,
I mean,
I'm with Brian on this one, because all of her wording was very deliberate. It was very deliberately said, hey, do you want to get a drink? Okay, I can't get a drink now, but I'm working on a big project for work that is happening in 2 weeks. She
And
was
this is
working
a
on
work
big project
thing.
for work that was happening in 2 weeks. She was going to go meet somebody where a friend was going to DJ. I don't know if there was actually a DJ. If there wasn't a DJ, then this kind of falls apart. But she was very much saying everything that she said was true. However, there were other things that were also true. So yes, she was
but that's the tricky dick, right? Like,
Man.
there is. It's one thing to threes company someone and end up on 2 dates at one time in the same restaurant. Whoop, 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 whoop. This was a deliberate act to make these guys compete against each other and deceive them based on unspoken
No. She
roles.
it's not like she was like, the doors are locked from the outside.
But
now
still,
you compete.
it's
The
emotional.
only thing for anybody that's going on a Tinder date, right? You have to, and this is coming from someone who's never gone on a Tinder date, so please flame me appropriately. I'm indeed an embarrassment. That's why I set up this bit. But you assume that a Tinder date might go wrong. All my friends that go on Tinder dates are like,
Sure.
hey, look, they also kind of make soft other plans in case this is like a bail immediately situation. So all they really lose after making this voluntary decision to go down there and meet her is the fact that they went down, and maybe it is yet another in a brilliant, beautiful starry sky of Tinder dates gone wrong immediately.
This is Curtis in the chat was like, this was not even a date. This was her saying, come on a date with me. and showing up, and it's the frickin' Sasuke American Ninja Warrior challenge. Like, it's not even close to a bill of goods. This is outright deceit on a massive scale, and whatever, however you view it as performance art, at the end of the day, you cause some amount of hurt to a non-zero number of these people.
Wait, Totally Bug says, come on, guys. These dudes who went to meet her are hard up to bang her. She used them.
What?
Wait, even
That's
by that.
That's I don't.
It's like, well, then what were they looking to do to her? Like, it was like, yeah, it might have been a bunch of thirsty dudes who came out, and yes, it is playing against the fact that some dudes are thirsty as hell, but I don't think it's like, to me, if I'm that dude who went there, right, and it's like, all right, like, to me, it's one of those, like, you got me,
Well,
clever.
and I feel like everybody still there and still participating understood that, and it was consensual, that it's like, okay, I'm playing a different game now. I'm not playing the trying to date this woman game. I am playing the clearly something is happening, and I want to be a part of whatever this strange journey that is now beginning. Like,
but the fact that some of them stayed does not dismiss the fact that some of them were hurt.
Well, I mean, sure.
they?
I mean, I'm hurt when I get a text saying, "Hey, Brian, do you have a second for a call?" And I respond saying, "Oh no, I'm sorry, I'm busy." And it says, "Well, because I'm calling on behalf of Beto, who's running for Senate, and blah blah blah." Like, sure, I'm hurt in that I felt like a sucker for a brief second or whatever.
Times 100.
I guess. I mean, I guess I don't know. I don't know how it was presented. I can imagine a scenario where it was presented in a very hurtful way. I can also imagine a scenario where it's fun for everybody who stayed there and participated in the double dare that went afterwards. And of course, we don't have.
also,
I'm going to say, as someone who is actively
Can I also
trying to
just make
date.
this one statement before we go any further.
Okay.
There is a non-zero to probably over 50% chance that all of this, from the very well-written tweet thread to all the videos to, of course, all the permit and everything, is totally fabricated,
including all of the attendees, all of the theoretically, like the outrage that you're feeling, Bryce, might have been orchestrated and paid for, and the whole point of this.
There is a non-zero chance, considering the fact that this is organized by a viral media firm, that this is the lady on the plane that the dude wrote all the thing about.
It seems to me that if I was a viral marketing firm, I wouldn't leave it to chance that there'd be a crowd there. And it seems like I wouldn't leave it to chance what people say about the event. It seems like...
But we're talking about this. Look, even if it's fake, we can talk about the events that are portrayed here.
Sure.
You know, like, you can say is Alex Jones conspiracy theory, murder dates, whatever.
Murder dates.
But we're talking about the way it's presented in front of us.
I want to take a moment to talk about our new sponsor, Murder Dates.
Listen. So I'm on Tinder, and I get this message that says I'm working on a major project. And I'm like, okay, well, you know, MK Ultra or CIA, FBI. Obviously, there's a lot of projects that are going on right now, a lot of efforts to control our mind. This is all documented on Infowars.com. I'm like, okay, all right. Well, maybe she's part of that. Okay, that's fine. I'm a patriot. I'm willing to wait. Next thing you know, she hits me up and she says, Alex, I want to meet you. My friend is DJing at a public park. Can you come and meet me? And so I did. Next thing you know, I see her up there. Obviously, George Soros, China, Beijing, Disney, the Country Bears Jamboree, Nolan Bushnell, Atari. This is all documented.
Nolan Bushnell, Atari.
And now my day is ruined because I thought I was going to meet a fine lady, procreate, to save our nation. And all the free-thinking Christians and libertarians and conservatives are now put down upon because I didn't get my dick wet. Fish oil. Bye.
Oh,
Sorry,
man.
you were saying even if it is all fake,
Even if this
what
is
is
fake.
portrayed is I guess
Is what we're talking about.
right. If I'm reading you right, you're saying that it's creepy and it's unkind and
Yeah.
it's
As someone who is
it takes advantage
Mhm.
of somebody. Like, the very nature of dating is complicated enough that we don't need to fucking fear that we're going to be the fucking poster boy for a viral marketing campaign by virtue of
Right.
trying to date somebody in our app.
Like, I am actively trying to date today in 2018, right?
Right.
If I set up a date with someone, or if I set up whatever,
if you
a
found
meet-
out fucking...
and
yeah.
it's this, I would be hurt because the dating scene is not easy, y'all.
Yeah.
It's not easy right now.
That I think that's where Brian we are disconnecting with an element of our audience, because that is what like Waffleophagus is saying, that there's a lot of people there that for us this is a theoretical thing, that it's like, oh, it's online dating, it's like dating, it's like a thing, right? But there is a specific journey that when you're in the shit, if there is a dangle,
and
Here's how tough it is right now
you're
for
in it.
me. Granted, I think that there might be things, but like I sent an email to OkCupid. It was very embarrassing to send it, and I'm sharing this because it's very embarrassing to send.
Patreon.com/Night Attack.
I had not gotten really any messages in a while. Quite a while. I've been trying to spend more time on these apps to try to find someone to whatever.
Which by the way, as by the numbers, that's exactly what you have to do. You have to in some ways divorce, because forgive me,
It's a numbers game.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Some part of you knows it's a numbers game. Another part of you knows that this is. You got to show your belly to a lot of people. You know, you have to open yourself up, and
Right.
when you show your belly, you can
And
get
you don't even
stabbed.
know that
you don't know what's
Right.
going to come.
Right. And
Bryce, may I suggest that you've been shadow banned by OkCupid?
so the account that I use, there was a quiet period for a couple years where I just didn't use it.
Yeah.
And so I emailed the support. I was like, hey, I know I haven't used my account in a while. I don't know if there's an algorithm thing where it's not showing me to a lot of people, or it showed me to a lot of people. Now it's not showing me to people because I don't, whatever. Like, I basically had to send an email like, hey, is this thing on, or am I
playing,
just not?
Yeah, am I playing the game wrong, or you want to
Right.
let me in on some best practices in order to maximize the encounters?
Well, and they sent a very politic email that your messaging system is working, and that was that. I'm talking to someone right now, but it was definitely a thing of like, I don't even know if the mechanism, if I can even trust the mechanism, because ironically because I spent so much time with it.
On top of that, like,
But also, Bryce, but you had to make the very embarrassing step of like calling AT&T and saying, "Hey, I'm really popular and my cell phone's not ringing at all. So can you make sure that it's working?"
Kind of. Well, and OkCupid does. OkCupid will do this thing where it's like, oh, hey, you are popular, so we're going to give you popular options. And I've gotten that on two different accounts.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
well,
So you are, but
I'm a certified hottie from OkCupid.
and so now,
I mean, number one, we both believe this. You don't need to oversell this bit to us. Granted, because something tells me both Justin and I would not do nearly as well at OkCupid as you probably would.
we root for you actively. # sling that dick.
Oh my gosh.
But the man, I can't imagine what it's like to date in an age where you have that low grade fear at all times of everything you type or say or do or picture you take being owned by another person, by it being recorded, by knowing that you might show up at the top of /r/embarrassing Tinders or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
We already have all of these filters and barriers that we put up day to day, but being robbed of any chance that at least your failures will be temporary and ethereal and in that moment is terrifying. That's terrifying to me.
But that's kind of the trade, right? Because I for whatever reason, after this story, I was thinking about just my dating experience and the fact that I met Ashley before I ever downloaded like Tinder. I think was very at the very beginning of becoming a thing while I was still single, but I never really got on it. And I feel like the trade-off, at least in how I've thought, and people please correct me, is that you trade the way that we were single, Brian, was like person to person, or you went on a very early, now we are going to think of them as archaic dating sites where it's like there's a site and you have to go visit the site and you enter in and you're interacting like it's a weird message board, yada, yada, yada. But even then, by and large, most of it was in person. You're running into people that either you know a similar person or you're at work or there's something like that. But it was you're risking a personal embarrassment on every interaction, right?
Man, I got to be honest.
Yep.
Oh, sorry.
Here,
Go
hold
ahead.
on. Let me get to the end and then we can parse it out.
Sure.
The difference is now the option is, and now the norm has become, congratulations, you can now SEO dating. But you have to realize that with that comes all the success when you realize that SEO ad campaigns is like 3% click through is like the greatest ad of all time. So it's like you've now traded the personal sacrifice and yet probably higher percentage reward of, hi, I'm a person. Would you like to connect with me on some level? For the less personal, I can do it on the toilet, but I get 97% rejection if I'm the best person who's ever done it.
Yeah, I would say even what you described was after my time, because I'm older than you, and even though I'm sure those tools were out there in message boards in the nascent days of the internet in 1994, 1995.
I only mentioned that because it was like thing, but replace that with Great Expectations or speed dating or anything that was another thing aside from just meeting people in general.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Because also not only I feel like there's nothing I have of substance because I'm privileged because I've been married for 20 plus years. I'm privileged because I lucked out. I happen to be an extrovert, and so talking to people in person is comfortable for me. I'm privileged in that, even if I hadn't been married, I went on to a touring career where I met bazillions of people, and and there are those moments of meeting. When you meet 100 people a week, you tell those brief moments of chemistry or whatever. I feel like I don't know. I feel like a bad person. Not that I'm a bad person, or certainly an unqualified person who can't possibly.
That's I know where my frustration comes from this thing, right? Where it's like I'm just trying to get anyone to string any couple of sentences back at me,
right?
Like my bar is like, if you can ask me questions,
right,
then you're doing better than 95% of the people. So if it was set up like this, I would be like, how could you waste my time and emotional energy on this?
There is a letter that was published in the 1970s. I'm gonna have to think for a moment to remember the guy's name. But there's a direct marketing guy who says it's the greatest direct marketing ad he's ever seen. And it was a full-page ad paid for in the newspaper that was just from a wealthy man who was looking for a spouse or partner or whatever. Mm-hmm. Give me just a moment and let me see if I could track it down. Okay. You guys can talk in the meantime.
So I'm like, even though they sent me this thing that was like, oh no, your messaging is all fine, whatever, or your messaging system works, whatever, I still like want to just make a new account, because when you make a new account on OkCupid, they really roll out the red carpet for you.
Yeah.
Plus you just reset any, whatever, people who have passed on you in the past or whatever. But, at that point it's like, well, maybe I should just try a different app, or I don't know. But it's annoying. You would think, I don't know. It's so weird. It's a completely different energy. It's a thing that like the nervousness. I have become less nervous being on this live stream over the past couple of years, but like sitting down and messaging someone, even like an unsolicited first message.
Yeah.
Just like, hey, I sent you a like, and I'm gonna send you a message so you take a look at me. Like even that is really, really frustrating. Like nerve wracking, and it makes it to the point where it's like I don't even know that I use it great. Like there's a guy I'm talking to, I'm able to like type out a message to him per day, and it's that's frustrating because we might not even be able to see each other in person for like over a week.
Doggone it. I just realized I'm definitely not going to be able to find it. And of course I'm going to remember it minutes after we go off the air. But basically his point was, when it comes to marketing, he says a lot of people want to say, as little as possible. And he says, that's dumb. Imagine if you were knocking on door to door and you were told that you need to sell a vacuum cleaner with as few words as possible. He said nobody would advise that. Instead, you would tell a big, long, compelling story about how this vacuum cleaner is the greatest thing in the world. And so as a result, like this dude's dating advertisement that he bought was like 2,000 words, all singles, So basically it was self-selecting. He's like, here's what I don't want. Here's who I'm not interested. Here's what I am into. Here's what I do have. Here's, please don't bother me with X. Basically, it reminded me a little bit of what I've heard about the Tim Ferriss's autoresponder, where it's like if you send Tim Ferriss an email, you get 75 paragraphs over. Here's how I operate. Here's everything I do. Here's why your email may or may not get read or whatever. Like it was so clear and honest and precise about who he was and what he was looking for that this guy, I almost remembered his name, but he thought it was a good idea. I don't know what that looks like. Certainly you don't, I mean, if you cut and paste that shit, then you look like a weird spammer, and
you definitely don't want and OkCupid's got, like, they updated their messaging thing where, like, if you don't both mutually like each other, you can only send them one message ever. Yeah. And if they don't respond or what have you, then that's the end of it. It's weird. Yeah. And so, like, I mentioned, like, I have two accounts because the old account I had for multiple years with multiple hiatuses on it, and at some point you just kind of run out of steam on it, and you make a new one, and it really, like, puts you in front of people, tries to make you, to get you to do the question.
And I would imagine at some point it just feels like you're working in the salt mines. Like it feels like a job of just constantly like.
I guess kind of, right? Like they even have this, like, Tinder like thing on OkCupid where it's like, oh, you can do the swipes on OkCupid. Mm-hmm. And it's not the exact same thing, but it's even that is like a whole process.
Are you worried that I mean, I would be terrified that it's your profile and your picture and your genuine thoughts. Are you worried about somebody recording that and putting it out there and making some hay on it somewhere else? Or
not on the things the things I listed on my profile is things people know about me.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't think that really matters I think that is a qualification for, like, you are pasting current Brian into, like, current Bryce worries. Well, like somebody's going to like find what you're doing and then post it in an embarrassing place. Like,
that's become a part, like Night Attack. Even today, I know it wasn't terribly funny, me talking about being a terrible person, but it was important to me to confess. This is where I go to confession, and it's like I want to get out ahead of every piece of shit garbage moment I've ever had and say it out loud for the whole world so that nobody can hold anything out over me. Okay. But that's not where I was 20 years ago when I was 23 years old. I had a lot of stuff bottled up that I wanted to share, and I might share one-on-one, but I would be terrified if it was out for the entire world. And again, being in a place of privilege by virtue of being old and married, and I have the benefit of just getting it off my chest out there.
I guess what's different and what is fundamentally different between even me and probably Bryce, and certainly anybody Bryce's age and younger, is our understanding of recorded things that, like, me and you understand very, very plainly. Anything recorded can be brought back and made to be embarrassing. And these are lessons that obviously we kind of learn again and again whenever things like, stuff, like the stuff that happened over the last week, with famous people did. But in general, it's like, there's so much shit out there. People match with so many fucking people. And like, maybe at some point, somebody that matched with Bryce possibly winds up like being like, oh, you want to know what? I really want to know how to make a Negroni, and let me search on YouTube. And oh, look, there's the Modern Rogue. And like, oh, you want to know what? I love the Modern Rogue. Let me go watch Scam School. Oh, I watch Scam School. Oh, you want to know what? There's that episode with that Justin guy is funny. Let's watch Night Attack. Oh my God, that's that guy I matched with on Tinder 2 years ago.
Sure.
But like, the likelihood of anything like that, or Bryce saying something in the world of Tinder that stands out as like bold-faced, like, holy shit, can you imagine that? Is like, that threshold is so high because people are so weird and gross on those dating sites that it's like not even a concern that people have much.
And also, like, even outside of like the dating sphere, I try not, if I'm talking to someone who is like outside of our circle, that's usually not like the first or second thing that I'll get. Like, I'll say, oh, I do video production, or I do, podcasting or whatever. And there are plenty of other people out there who do some form of that also. And maybe this is like a personal thing, but like, I try not to get too deep into the specifics very early on in talking about that stuff, only because like I don't it's like the Twitter thing. I went on a date with a guy a couple years ago now, and he was very proud of his Instagram following, which was,
and you were like, motherfucker, you don't even know.
Which yes,
which
would
that's
have been
adorable.
Promptly dwarfed by my Twitter following.
Sure,
but he was very proud of it, and it was very important to him, whereas it's not as important to me, whatever.
Right.
And so I try not to get too deep into the specifics early on in either direction.
I think that's one of the parts that fascinates me, is that there needs to be a middle ground. Like, okay, after being married for 20 years, there are still levels of truth that are coming out in the relationship between me and Bonnie. Like shit that for whatever reason, like, oh, I hadn't even thought to explore this thing that I've never told another human soul, I can't, it's hard for me to even remember or imagine the level of, truth in quotation marks that marks the beginning of a relationship. Like it's some mostly true version of what's going on.
Sure.
Just leaving out major parts, or now's not the right time for us to talk about X or Y or Z or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, that's any relationship at all, is like, this is gonna sound strategically parsing out information.
Well,
I don't need to come around.
Well, and that's not even to say that it's a rude thing or disingenuous or whatever. But I think you're right. I think that is the chess game of intimacy, where you increasingly, as you get closer to someone, feel comfortable making yourself increasingly more vulnerable to the other person, and I think it does take a very, very long time, and I don't know. I'm just glad I got married instantly out of college and didn't have to deal with that, because that sounds hard. Sounds like what you're doing is a very hard thing that I would not be able to do.
I think that's the weird thing again is that dating, the norms of dating traded the white knuckle awful. I'm going to interact with people in person and face rejection immediately possibility. That is so terrifying, and it was, and it is so awful that it's like, okay, well, I'm going to trade that for the SEO bargain. But I can do it all by myself. I can do it in my room. I can do it in any state of undress. Like, I don't have to exactly nail it, but I'm going to know that the maybe 30% success rate of talking to somebody that you kind of have a sense might be interested in saying, hey, would you like to go get coffee, is going to be replaced with silence.
Yeah.
You know?
And
Like,
it's frustrating
just
because
the echo of the void.
Well, it's frustrating because that scaling up of like exposure hasn't changed. Like we understand that, and OkCupid was very strong about, you know, all of their like social statistics stuff. You know, however many years ago, where it's like, you know, the most effective first messages don't say hi or hello, they say hey, and you know, X, Y, or Z, right? Like the idea that like, okay, you're now being exposed to a magnitude more people, but also your message game like has 2 magnitudes more sophistication required in each message.
You want to know who fucking like optimized, and I forget which platform it was. It might have actually even been OkCupid. And I don't know if I might be going out of school telling them. All right, I'm not going to say who it is.
Okay.
A friend of mine,
Jeffrey Cupid.
Yeah, sure. I don't know why I want to say his name, but
Don't.
he's a very, 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 very smart guy, and read every paper that whatever this platform, I think it was OkCupid, now that I think more about it, but they wrote extensively about who matches and why they match, and this is what happens, right? So he fucking optimized his page. And even went so far as to like one of the things was like, all right, so people match more with active photos, and humor is the biggest thing that you can show that gets an instant match. So he would take photos anywhere that was interesting or outdoors with him doing the Karate Kid crane kick. Like you would have, and so he would be like out hiking, it's on the rock, right? Like out in the woods, he's on the rock. We went to this will probably reveal some of it, but we were at a wrestling event, and he was like up, so in front of the ring, he's like doing the same
pose.
thing, and then frame everything, so when you swiped through it, his pose was the same, but with all these different things in the background. And
did it work for this
damn
person?
it if he didn't meet somebody that he's with now on fucking OkCupid, but because he put so much effort. But now listen, even then, boy howdy, that motherfucker had to go through
That's
like
a lot.
a million different things. He put a lot of effort into it, but he had to go through a bunch of shitty dates, and then eventually he found somebody that was really, really good.
Yeah. It's the scale of these two ideas did not proportionally change, and so there's.
But look, I mean, it was one of those things where I saw him put that kind of effort in for about a year, and then within a year he was with somebody that was awesome. And so I think part of the story here is kind of the same as it ever was, which is the more effort you put into things in a world where uncertainty is everywhere. And it's not like, I think that's where people get into trouble when we talk about relationships and gender and like, you know, the battle of the sexes, as it were, is that everyone thinks the other side has got it perfect, or there's somebody out there living fucking high on the hog. But that lesson, like it is in careers and show business and regular ass business, is like the people who put in the most effort usually wind up reaping the most reward, and the people that get the most discouraged, you know, usually wind up doing less than what they could.
I think a lot of that rings true. I don't know. I think there's also something to be said about the fucking outdoorsy people who love traveling the world and are doctor, lawyers.
100%. And look,
Fucking-
but that dude maximized what he had.
Yeah.
Like he did have a job that flew him around.
Sure.
So now narrow down my male friends that aren't married with 2 kids. That worked at the Go Game.
You have to do that.
By the way,
Jeremy Game.
Ashley just said from the other room, "Oh."
I would say this much. It seems to me like you want to do on whatever the golden list of 2, 3, 5, whatever perfect number of rules there are. It seems like maximize your interactions would be one of them. Like maximize your at bats. And this is me talking about like from a professional career, because it's a bit like no, it's not. It's not at all like dating to book a college show. But
it is similar in that it is a numbers game.
It is a numbers game, and it's also you are looking to have that magic interaction where it's like, oh, we are a fit, and that's perfect. And certainly the number of at bats increases your chances of scratching off a winning lottery ticket. That's 4 metaphors for the price of 1.
Wait, hold on, wait a minute. Let me bring into another metaphor.
Okay. Right. Yeah, that's good, because I was just thinking as I said that, like, not enough metaphors. I need another layer to it.
You just did DEF CON.
Yeah.
Right?
I did.
When you do DEF CON, you just had a regular ass, just a table, like a plain table, right? And you just put your stuff on the table and you sold it, right?
Yeah,
that's all you did?
A big pile on top of a table is exactly what they did.
I think I see where you're headed. No, that's what everybody else did.
What?
What we did is we paid like $800 for pipe and drape and a giant banner and lights that shone on the banner. And even if you didn't know who we were, you walked up and the banner behind us had our faces on it, and also the words of the shows that we had appeared on: Hacking the System, The Modern Rogue, Scam School. You know, so even if you didn't know who we were, you at least knew these guys. I guess they were on shows called these things, and you knew because we had the trappings of authority. This is in my How to Scam Your Way Into Anything lecture, we talk about the fixed action patterns. This is all out of Robert Cialdini's book, Influence. One of the fixed action patterns you could take advantage of, take advantage of sounds bad, you can use to your benefit, is the trappings of authority. And the trappings of authority can be anything from a well-tailored suit to a uniform to, in our case, it's the social proof of our YouTube following, of our Twitter following, of our podcast following, of all of that stuff. So if I'm reading you correctly, Justin, you're saying that there are ways to put on an enhanced best version of yourself for people to encounter the first time?
Beyond putting on an enhanced best version, there is the concept of thinking, what is my best version? Right? Like, how do people view me? How do I want a total stranger to understand me? So for you guys are trying to like be gigantic big shots that you want to buy things from, right?
Sure.
Whether I'm not saying that
at least characters that present themselves of a
trusted
level
vendor.
well enough that they're like, well, there's something interesting happening
worthy
here.
of your attention. I'm worthy of like I'm somebody that you should come talk to. Which, by the way, I don't think I told you this story. I was talking to Darren Kitchen.
Oh, dude, did he tell you how bummed out he was about our booth?
Yeah. The story was, it's like, man, we've owned DEF CON. I'm like, oh, how'd you do? How was DEF CON? And there were a couple logistical things that went into it, but he's like, the biggest thing is I walk in there and we've been one of the oldest vendors that have done the biggest volume at DEF CON for years now. And it's like, we usually get the prime space. And the next thing you know, I walk in and there's this other
by the way,
right
to be clear, when you walk in, they're at the back and they have the tallest booth out of everything. They got this incredible truss system set up, and they have all these characters for all of the different gizmos that they have. It's very clear that they were set up so that you would walk in and see a sea of everyone else, and then you would see a shining beacon in the middle of Hack 5.
Sure.
Yeah. And then he's like, and then all of a sudden I see this fucking another booth that's fucking bigger than ours, like right in front of us. I'm like, who the fuck, man? I'm gonna fucking rip DEF CON. Like how long have we been here? How fucking much have we put in here? And then I see who it is, and it's the motherfuckers we invited to DEF CON.
Yeah, and the worst part is, here's the part that's heartbreaking, is that our booth faced towards there. So as you walk in, you don't even see our shit. What you see is what looks like a giant fucking letterbox sensor bar, just giant blackout, like pay no attention to anything past this moment. Sure. Nothing interesting is happening over here.
Yeah.
Right. So basically, our pipe and drape served nothing but to just be a sensor bar to block Hack 5 from being the thing that you saw when you entered the vendor's area. I felt legit awful. It was the worst. Like I didn't even.
You should have sold him the advertising space on the back of your panel. You probably should have
given it to him.
Right,
because I don't want Darren Kitchen as an enemy.
I take back that jerk off.
I should have straight up given it to him.
He was. He was obviously saying all that in jest, which I'm sure you guys know, but for everybody else. Yeah. So, no, he had more people that he was way more pissed about, but that's inside baseball that we don't need to go into.
Okay, good. Okay.
But the larger thing is that, yes, there is rejection, and yes, there is, loneliness. But if there's one thing that Queer Eye has taught me, is that much of this.
That's what you need, is some advice from a reality television show. Go ahead, Justin. Administer.
And miss me with that Karamo shit, though. Miss me with Karamo still.
That's all I'm saying is that listen, all reality shows have lessons about them, right? Like they have like inherent kind of things. Like hacking the system was your universe is fallible, and you can bend it to your will if you know these pressure points, right? And that is the general lesson. And we're going to explain that lesson. The lesson of Queer Eye is, you might need some a quintet of gays to explain it to you in exactly this various way that applies to this person, but effort will make you happy. Putting forth the time and effort into your appearance, your house, your cooking, who you are. Like it's not about, that you're a failure. It's that everybody has problems, but there's ways that we can always get better at them. And that's why it's an aspirational show. And I think that's one of those things where it's like, when you really look at first impressions and stuff like that. And I think that when you look at online dating, to me, that's all there is, right? Like it's first impressions are it. Then it's not just like, well, let me show my true self and I'll find the person who really loves me. It's like, no, you got to show your best self, and maybe you can become better in the process.
Yeah, I think in general I agree with everything. Though I do think that, interestingly, some of the criticism of Queer Eye are some of the same criticisms I would probably put forth towards these dating apps. In terms of like the inherent ties between capitalism and bettering yourself, but in general, effort is rewarded. Yeah.
Although that show, we're just gonna get into a Queer Eye discussion, but that show very often is like, no, we want to make sure that not every solution comes in a bottle, and that like. every third episode, Jonathan's running out with like, you don't need to buy this. You can just mix up cat litter and hot
Sugar.
water and put it in the freezer. 2 seconds later, put it on your face. Next thing you know, you don't have zits anymore. Which that's a joke, but there's obviously like they make an effort to say like you can just spread honey on your face and it's going to do 90% of what a L'Oreal face scrub is going to do.
Sure. I think they try to pay, what am I trying to say? I think that, yeah, you're right on that.
So yeah, but you look at that as like a like, sure, every third episode, but then every other episode you're getting paid by L'Oreal so you can plug their fucking body wash.
I think it's easier for Jonathan to do that, where someone like Tan very regularly has his bonobos shout out and his.
I promised
Oh.
that I would not explain that I may or may not have inside information as to how that show works from inside of it.
Okay.
But let me just say that
New sentence. That was a good sentence you spoke. Hey,
New
do you have a new sentence that you'd like to
Can you
speak
say
right
another
now?
sentence for me, please?
new sentence, man, does that show make money on the brands that they work with, and man, do those deals handcuff whatever artistic ability you might think any of those guys have on the show.
Oh,
And
sure.
if I were to reorder my Fraud 5, there would be some radical reordering because some of them have literally zero choice as to what they do.
Oh,
Oh
well,
my goodness.
we definitely don't want to get into that next to those two sentences, but
Yeah,
Right.
boy, howdy.
We can't get more, but at some point, maybe.
Yeah.
So-
Maybe I can forget the fact that I said that I know things, and I can just start making wild proclamations.
I think that the part so when I was a kid, when I was in college, I just assumed everybody was like me and had the same, natural comforts that I had or whatever. And only now as I get older and I encounter more different types of people do I realize that introversion and extroversion is a real thing, and that that there are different preferences for different people of different ways to communicate. And back to this dating app thing, like I feel like all three of us are fairly comfortable sharing ourselves publicly and insulating ourselves where it's just like, if whatever comes out, you're like, yeah, no, I did that's the thing or whatever. But meanwhile, like I know people where that thought is cripplingly horrifying. And the idea that at least back in 1992, you could have the expectation of trying and failing and telling the truth and having somebody not dig what you're about and having that evaporate like smoke and just be in the past, as I wish it was when I yelled at one of my neighbors, but instead, like the idea of from day one, everything fucking being on the stenographer's record, is, I mean, that is strange and terrifying to me. Not so much on my behalf, because number one, I'm not in that game. Number two, even if I was in that game, I think everything I would say, I would essentially think of as a press release. But I know a lot of people for whom that's a Kobayashi Maru, man. Like that's a no-win scenario. It's like you fucking write a letter and know that somebody else now has power over you because they have your words and you've been overly intimate, or I don't know. That's fucked up. It's like all of a sudden everybody instantly gets, if not dick pics of your actual dick to hold over you, they get dick pics of your ideas that you have to hold over you. And I'm just
Sure. I mean,
that seems really weird and hard to me. Like
yeah.
a dick pic.
yeah, okay, good. That's solid.
Sorry, I brought it home. I landed it. I got there at the end.
Hard, like that's true. That's probably like top 2 on the board. Bing, bing. You got it.
Yeah. I mean, for sure, that's definitely like a low, like a background noise thing of who you share that stuff with and what ultimately you are trying to get out of the experience, right? That people go in for different reasons.
I guess what I'm saying is like even the most softball, so to speak, version is like a back and forth banter, right? Where you're trying to make the other person laugh and engage or whatever, and maybe you do an adequate performance because you're whatever, you're distracted or you're not very good at writing comedy banter back or whatever. Like the fact that somebody else has that transcript and can go out and post it without your consent or whatever, and the fact that that is the default baseline of everything going forward for everybody who's dating in America now, like that is very, very strange to me. And I'm
well, but at some point, like, yes, I think everything you said is valid, but also I think that if you extrapolate far enough, is an argument for Ludditism.
Yeah,
right?
so
like, if you put it in the computer, the computer has it, and then it's always in the magnet.
I hear you. You're saying like that's
Look,
an
man,
old man worry.
You're saying it's always in the magnets, which I mean, I'm sure somebody understands, but
I mean, would it be any different than if you had a pen pal, or if you were communicating via letter?
I mean, Brian, again, I think this is a uniquely our generation. Like we are the last generation to find it fascinating that the internet is great because it records.
Right.
Because that was the fascinating part of our generation, like growing up with the internet, was, oh my God, it's infinite. I can have everything I've ever wanted and it records. And the way I've understood information my entire life, now I can transfer over to the internet. And I think what has happened since us, as we age into modernity, is a generation that's like, no.
Sure.
Yeah, the internet's infinite. Who gives a fuck?
Because there was never any moment where it was like, oh, this is a wild frontier. You can do whatever. And then turning into like, oh, this is all recorded, or stuff gets saved and stuff, right?
And
I mean, I grew up with dial-up internet, whatever, but I never had I never had the notion that stuff was invisible.
And some part of this is, or at least my take, is almost certainly fueled by the fact that I'm aware that I now have a 14-year-old daughter, and I'm wondering what online dating looks like for her, because she spends a lot of her time in virtual communities, which are real friendships that she's developing, real relationships that she's developing, but it's in a format where everything is being recorded, and I think about. I don't know. This is all turf I'm exploring and trying to wrap my mind around because I'm an old calcified guy.
Okay. Well, all right. You have to put yourself down. We got it.
Yeah. Like we know you're old.
Oh, God. Say again, Just.
Think she's talking some mad shit on these forums?
I'll tell you what, man. She sent me. She ran for Threadmaster of one of the fan threads that she was on.
Ooh.
And it was like, I don't know, 4 or 5 paragraphs or whatever. And reading it, I just was overwhelmed because she was talking like one of our fellow family here in the Diamond Club.
She's taking it seriously.
Yeah. Well, if you don't mind, I'm going to overshare. I won't say what she wrote, but I'll say what I said in response.
Okay.
I don't think I talked about this before, right?
I don't think so.
So
I need to use the restroom.
She sent me her nomination for Threadmaster for this thing, and I wrote, this is on Thursday, I wrote, finally read this. My goodness, Penny. I can't think of a single other time I've been more proud of you. You showed so much class, empathy, and honesty. My heart just about exploded with pride. Well done, kiddo. Hope you don't mind that I'm going to share this with your mom, because I'm totally going to share this with your mom. It's really such a blast to see you developing into such a kind, classy, and well-informed citizen of the universe. I'm proud to be your family. And she responded with a happy cat emoji. And there was part of me that that realized, like, there's something wonderful about a conversation with just a little bit of a curtain between both parties, where both parties have to take a moment to proofread what they're writing and say it with intentionality and stuff. And I got to tell you, I've really enjoyed texting to my eldest daughter. Josie, of course, just wants to talk, but Penny, I feel like I'm able to connect with at a deeper level thanks to technology. Even though, from the outside viewer,
I can see that. I can see that because Penny is, I think, somebody who, I mean, like I think late bloomer is kind of like a weird old fashioned like thing to say, but I think that Penny at 25 is going to be a very profoundly different person than Penny at 15, right?
Correct. Yeah, I agree.
I think at a certain point you're going to see her at 25 and you're going to be like, oh, that is a super smart, quirky person that has found a way to put it all together in a way that's not, that is trying to find its pieces. Where like Josie, it's like you can see Josie now and you're like, oh, okay, that's Josie at 18. Like,
right.
Scale that up for experience and HP, and you're like, that's okay. That makes sense.
Right.
But I can see where, if given time and the ability to flex the kind of muscle that I think she has the most, which is the fact that she reads a shit ton. She's like a reading machine. She's probably a really good writer, specifically for her age, that she can communicate on that level in the same way that you'll probably wind up communicating with her at, an older age,
Yeah.
Between 18 and 25.
All right. Well, it's 12:30 at night and we're bleeding. We're losing all our viewers. They're all like, yeah.
One last thing,
I'll tell
Justin.
you what, man. I think we held a really good count today, though.
Good.
That was good. Yeah. No, we were up. We flexed over 300 for the majority of the show, which is not
really?
the case
Right on.
last weeks. Yeah.
That's awesome.
I'm sure you saw this, Justin, from Kruvek. This is like the fourth. He sent like 4 or 5 different James Hunt Chopper
listen,
Joint
I
Live
know,
shirts.
I know it's a Mikey bit, but I just in my mind,
You
what
want
I
it
want
to be a
is-
meme bigger than Mikey, like
Just
like
text.
beyond.
I want like an 80s kind of like font of just something that's like iconic, just like a jam slunt Chomper Joint Lives. So great fucking job, Kruvek. I don't want to shit on the idea, although I literally just did that. But
So you should have done a classic.
great
like
job. I want to throw this out to everybody. Jam slunt, Chomper Joint Lives. Gambling
that.
Man
And a few
asks,
other ones.
That's pretty
This
good.
was okay.
See, that's good. I like that.
Little
I like
hard to
that.
read,
Just
maybe.
Think only text.
I like this kind of an Evangelion sort of look.
Gambling Man suggests I don't know if we want to play the social slumberjack stuff on the way out. But that is a suggestion.
If he knows a clip of it, that would be good to go out. 'cause I
Yeah, is
know
there a part
the
that's
interview-
good? Because
But-
we're just assuming it's garbage.
No,
I mean,
it's 9 minutes.
it's
This interview's
fucking
9
minutes. Jesus Christ, Gambling Man.
Okay.
It
What
is
are you
9
doing?
it's minutes.
9 minutes?
I'll tell you what. There is a moment. If Gambling Man can find it, there's a.
By the way,
I explained to the host of the show how to read that there's a story in every tree, and I read the story in the tree stump that's on that's on the table. So if he can find that time code.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, thank you, Charles. for the
Hey, he's in
statistically,
charge.
Significant amount of bits.
I mean, not in charge of the bit boss. Like
No.
that's definitely still Blue Front.
That's still Blue Front. I'm sure Gambling Man is frantically.
it was
Oh, Aphex says, what did Chad say about the OMG Whizboy thing?
Oh, did you talk to Chad?
You fucking never got back to me, that piece of shit.
yeah.
You too, Brian?
He's no.
Do you want to try calling him right now at 12:30?
I'd prefer to
Not. Okay.
remain friends. Yeah.
Yeah.
How's Chad doing? Is he continuing to crush it?
I don't know. I assume so.
Is he crushing it all?
Dude, I did tune into Film Riot and started getting caught up on the back catalog of their stuff. It's been a hot minute. Man, those guys are great.
By the way,
it's so crazy to see. Is it Emily? Was the youngest one?
Yeah.
Emily is
their sister.
like 32 now, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I know
Probably
she
an
was
adult,
I know
but
she was
not-
3 years old when the show started. I don't know.
I mean,
how many
listen,
years
you
it's been.
are having the same experience as I had with Charlie Bit My Finger. Where I'm like, now they're the Prime Minister of England. Like Charlie, he's like, Charlie, run for Prime Minister, and now he's there.
Sano Chan says she's 17. Wow.
Man,
Wow.
it's amazing.
Wow, what was the thing I was gonna say? Oh, next week I'm gonna put it here near the end of the stream. Next week we're gonna have Allie Gertz on the show.
Yay!
Very cool.
Are we?
Yes, we are.
Good.
We confirmed it with her, and she's
But-
gonna talk
but-
about the Simpsons thing and what's going on with her because we haven't talked with her and
We haven't caught up in a hot minute.
No, we haven't got since the
Since
last
the-
time we talked to her. I believe she was like,
Getting ready to pitch their Rick and Morty thing.
sure.
yeah.
I think, but also her day job was social media managing for a Chris Hardwick show, and
Oh, that's right.
now she is the editor of Mad Magazine, and has other complications, including getting shit on by fucking Chris Hardwick's wife.
Oh,
Ooh.
I haven't heard this gossip, and I'm sad that this was spoken.
Just say, I'm going. New sentence. Justin Robert Young personally has to say, I mean, fuck the hearse. Like we've all. I think that I'm not going to be the one to give the Hearst family a break that they so richly deserve.
Oh man. I wonder if Gaming Man went to bed because he did not send a timestamp. So
Maybe he was just like, man, fuck this shit.
yeah, whatever. Okay, well, everyone check it out. I'll post it in the chat one more time. And go check it out. In the meantime.
Yo.
Uh,
Random plug for somebody in the same freshman class as me, Justin Willman's Magic for Humans. I started watching, and I'd be really interested to hear everybody's take on that.
It's on
Check it out on
Netflix.
Netflix.
Oh, there we go. Galen Man's got a time code.
No, that's
there we
the 4 seconds in link that he put in credit. So unless he's saying that we should play it from the beginning, he might have missed when we asked him to pick a clip that we can go out on because it's 9 minutes. I'm gonna give him 30 seconds. Here, I'm gonna start the clock.
Oh no!
That's not
You're
a
just
clock.
gonna make him really. I'm not a clock.
You're not a clock.
I'm a cock.
Dun, 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 dun.
Here we go. Hold on, wait. I think I can probably find it.
Okay, sure.
See. All right, here we go. Let's go ahead and start this right here. I'm doing it live on the air.
You're doing great.
Fantastic.
great.
You got it.
You're doing great.
Yeah, 3 minutes 38 seconds.
3:38. Okay, we'll click
Throw it
over
in the
there.
chatteroo.
3.
It's a gambling man that does not help to start from the second half of the interview.
Pause. 7.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, this is good. It's great. It's great. Congratulations, Patreons.
Okay.
Especially you, Kevin Kelly.
The world, right here, that's the only truth.
What do you read here?
Oh, this little guy?
Right.
Oh, there's a hell of a tail in here.
Tell us.
Can you not see it?
I see a nice solid peach of what is that? Mahogany or birch or something.
I'll tell you this tale right here. It's a little tale about a man goes off to war. It's not a war we've ever seen before. No. It's a future war.
How are you reading this?
A war with. But you can't see this. Just look. Listen. When you open up your eyes, you open up your mind. And right now, you are closed for business, brother.
I guess I am.
He's called by way of a psychic child. Says, if you don't patrol, then everybody is going to be lost by sunrise. Don't go, says his young daughter. No, he has to. He has to sacrifice as he clamps on his bionic arm and marches out into what he knows will be a sudden death by way of vapor laser.
A laser?
He will. This is what I didn't write it, man. I'm just telling you what's in it. To be honest, like it ain't my favorite, but I haven't read it since middle school.
Okay.
Oh my God! Too good! Hey, thank you to everybody who hangs out live. And thank you to everybody who's a patron over at patreon.com/nightattack. You guys make real magic happen in the real world. Never forget about that. I love you.
Bye, everybody.
Hams for Jay. Hams for Jay. Hams for Jay.
Hashtag.
Run for recover. Hear my tribe roar live with the thunder. Let it rain down so we pour out another. All I wanna feel is light we reveal, and the ceiling roofs get blown with the feels, and the foundation laid down for the brave. Uncharted, we set the pace, syncopated in the way we sway and rise.